people have been killed and several others injured in a wave of Russian strikes on Ukraine, during which a major religious landmark in Kyiv caught fire. Reports say 4 people were killed in attacks on Kyiv, while 5 rescue workers died trying to put out a fire caused by a Russian strike on the northeastern city of Kharkiv, Ukrainian officials said.
Or Marius Borg-Høiby, the 29-year-old son of Norway's Crown Princess Mette-Marit, has been found guilty of 2 counts of rape and given 4 years in prison. The 3 judges in courtroom 250 at Oslo District Court cleared him of 2 other counts of rape, but found him guilty of many of the other offences of which he had been accused.
Stepson of Norway's Crown Prince Haakon has been found guilty of 2 counts of rape, 1 count of domestic violence and other crimes, and is sentenced to 4 years in prison. An Oslo court ruled on Monday. Marius Borg-Høiby, 29, who joined the royal family when his mother Mette-Marit married Haakon in 2001, was acquitted on 2 other accounts of rape. American Justin Gaethje has turned the tables on Ilia Topuria to claim a shock win and take the lightweight UFC crown at the UFC Freedom 250 event on the lawn of the White House after Topuria, 17-1, edged a thrilling first 2 rounds on Sunday night. Gaethje, 28-5, stunned the Spaniard with a crunching right hand before following it up with a brutal flurry of jabs that left his opponent's face swollen and blooded.
On Friday, Elon Musk became the world's first trillionaire after his company SpaceX launched its initial public offering. A trillion is a 1 with 12 zeros, or 1,000 billions. To try to make sense of that, even if you burn through 1 minas every day, it would take 2,700 years to spend $1 trillion. With 1 trillion, you could fund global famine relief 166 times, provide clean water to everyone on Earth for 20 years, rebuild Gaza 14 times, or give $125 to every person in the world.
Los Angeles, from saffron-flavoured ice cream parlours to kebab shops and Farsi-language bookstores, it does not take long to see signs of the Iranian community in Los Angeles' Westwood neighbourhood. And with Iran's pre-1979 revolution lion and sun flag on display across the area, alongside the occasional portrait of opposition figure Reza Pahlavi, the community's stance against the Iranian government also becomes apparent.
Oil prices slipped to their lowest since March. On Monday, after US President Donald Trump and Iran's deputy foreign minister said they had reached an initial deal to end the war and to resume traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. Brent crude futures fell 4.7% to 83.25 cents a barrel by 0415 GMT, and US West Texas Intermediate was at $80.35 or 5.1 PC. Both contracts fell to their lowest levels since March 10 on Monday, after tumbling more than 3 PC on Friday.
The Pakistan Stock Exchange's PSX benchmark index KSE 800 points during intraday trade on Monday as the US and Iran reached a preliminary agreement aimed towards ending a war that began over 3 months ago and crippled the world's economy. The KSE 136 points. The KSE 100 index rose by 836 points from the previous close of 72,399 to reach 175,236 points at 11 a.m.
A trainer aircraft of the Pakistan Air Force crashed near Khyber Pakhtunkhwa's Mardan city on Monday, resulting in the martyrdom of both pilots on board the aircraft, the military's media affairs wing said. The Inter-Services Public Relations said in a statement that the aircraft was on a routine training sortie when it crashed. As a result, Flight Lieutenant Mohammad Qasim Abdullah from the PAF and Lieutenant Taha Abbasi from the Pakistan Navy embraced martyrdom.
A Mexican man caught on video pulling the corners of his eyes during the World Cup match between South Korea and the Czech Republic has apologized after the clip sparked a backlash. A South Korean content creator had posted a video of herself at the match last Friday, where Ulises Fernando Bernal Miramontes, seated behind her, was seen making the slanted eyes pose, then laughing it off. The pose is seen as disrespectful to East Asians.
For a 22-year-old making his World Cup debut for Sweden, Yasin Ayari could only have dreamed of a better start to his introduction to the biggest showcase of football. With a full-throttled volley into the top corner of Tunisia's net just 7 minutes into the first half of their Group H match in Monterrey, Ayari had opened the scoring for the Scandinavian side against their North African opponents.
Xiaomi has quietly introduced the Redmi Buds 8 in Pakistan, expanding its lineup of wireless audio products in the country. The new earbuds are now listed on Mi Store, but should become available at other online and offline retailers as well. The earbuds offer features such as active noise cancellation ANC, high-res audio support, long battery life, and Bluetooth 5.4 connectivity. Islamabad's mediatory role, as well as those of other countries, was in the limelight on Monday as world leaders welcomed a much-awaited agreement between Washington and Tehran to de-escalate tensions and eventually end a war that began more than 3 months ago and crippled the world economy. The preliminary agreement, first announced by Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, is being hailed as a significant diplomatic breakthrough that could restore peace in the Middle East, reopen the Strait of Hormuz and ease global economic pressures.
Long before credit rating agencies existed, there was a simpler test of financial health. Can a borrower pay interest from their income or by borrowing more money? American economist Hyman Minsky gave the failed rating a name, Ponzi finance, and it is worth being precise about it. A Ponzi position is not high debt or even rising debt. It is the specific condition in which you are paying your interest by borrowing more money.
Lahore, the Lahore Heritage Areas Revival Board, LR, has denied reports that the historical Ewing Hall near Neela Gumbad would be demolished following the government's takeover of the property, saying the structure would be preserved and restored. On the other hand, the Foreman Christian College University, FCCU, issued another statement saying that it has been unfairly asked to pay rent for the period from 1975 till 2003, when the FC College was nationalised and it was in the government control. It says that it had replied to the show cause notices properly.
Sweden crushed Tunisia 5-1 to leave the North African nation's defensive reputation in tatters and seize control of World Cup Group F as the Mexican city of Guadalupe hosted its first fixture of the tournament. Graham Potter's men took the lead in the 7th minute of the game on Sunday, courtesy of midfielder Yasin Ayari's thunderbolt from outside the box, following a mix-up at the back.
Taxila. A group of 518 Sikh pilgrims from India departed from Gurdwara Panja Sahib on Sunday for Kartarpur. After completing their religious rites and participating in commemorative ceremonies marking the death anniversary of Guru Arjan Dev Ji, the 5th Sikh Guru, the pilgrims offered prayers, performed religious rituals and attended special gatherings in remembrance of Guru Arjan Dev Ji.
Islamabad. Islamabad Capital Territory, ICT. Police have appointed PSP officer Kainat Azhar Khan as Chief Traffic Officer CTO and assigned her the additional charge of SSP Operation Safe City Ops. An ITP official told this agency that the posting and transfer order was issued by IGP Islamabad Syed Ali Nasir Rizvi.
Tutahida Chief says Karachi's growing population and economic importance require a new administrative framework. Politicians, experts and civil society members call for urgent governance reforms in capital of Sindh, Karachi. Mutahida Qaumi Movement Pakistan chairman Dr. Khalid Maqbool Siddiqui has stressed the need of carving out a new urban province in Sindh, saying it has become an unavoidable necessity.
After Sergi Bastardos' decade at Amazon and floriculture startup Colvin, one thing always stood out: the feeling that there wasn't enough efficient human infrastructure to manage the workers behind the scenes. He took this feeling and, in 2025, alongside his co-founders Nacho Travsi and Antonio Millet, launched Orbio, an enterprise startup that helps businesses manage frontline workers. Using AI agents, of course. On Monday, the company announced a $21 million Series A in a round led by Dawn Capital. The startup says its customers already include Poke and Yum brands. owners of Pizza Hut, Taco Bell and KFC, to onboard and manage their frontline employees. Astada said customers are progressing from using Orbio in pilot to now fully deploying the software. As an example, he said that at behavioral health provider the Stepping Stones Group, Orbio now runs the company's full US operation, with 20% more candidates making it through to get hired. The federal government has warned that rising global oil prices, slower economic growth, weaker revenue collection, higher debt servicing costs, and climate-related shocks could undermine its fiscal targets in the coming year, highlighting the fragility of public finances despite signs of macroeconomic stabilization. In a fiscal risk statement submitted to Parliament alongside the federal budget, Finance Minister Mohammed Aurangzeb and Finance Secretary Imdad Ullah Bozal identified 7 major sources of risk that could widen the budget deficit in fiscal year 2026-27. The assessment, required under the Public Finance Management Act 2019, outlines potential threats stemming from macroeconomic conditions, revenue performance, debt obligations, state-owned enterprises, climate change, natural disasters, and commodity financing guarantees.
Pakistan is out of reasons to treat climate change as tomorrow's problem. The Economic Survey 2025-26 reports that the country recorded its second warmest year in 65 years in 2025, immediately after experiencing its warmest year on record in 2024. Temperatures in Azad Kashmir, Gilgit-Baltistan and KP reached their highest annual levels in decades. These rising temperatures are accelerating glacial melt, altering monsoon behaviour and increasing rainfall variability. The country is confronting increasingly volatile weather patterns with consequences for agriculture, infrastructure, public health and economic planning.
Lahore. The tragic death of a minor girl in a police shootout in Chakwal has been widely covered in the Australian media, as the Crime Control Department CCD chief termed the incident a deviation from the established standard operating procedures. The incident was covered by ABC, The Guardian and SBS news outlets, which highlighted that the Perth-based family was on holiday in Pakistan when they were caught in the police crossfire in Chakwal. On June 10, a 9-year-old girl was killed and her father and brother were injured after the police opened fire at their car in Chakwal, mistaking them for robbers. All of them were Australian nationals. A year after the May 2025 conflict, the India-Pakistan relationship remains volatile. Diplomacy is frozen. Neither side has sought to break the deadlock. A war of words erupts every so often. Last week, it was over the water dispute. Then it was on the Kashmir dispute at the UN. Bilateral relations are at one of the lowest points in their tortured history. Last month saw speculation about the revival of dialogue. It was triggered by voices from India calling for talks. RSS General Secretary Dattatreya Hosabale urged engagement. A former army chief and ex-head of RAW agreed. Leaders from occupied Kashmir chimed in. Pakistan's foreign ministry spokesman responded quickly but cautiously. Describing this as a positive development, he said it was the official Indian line that mattered.
Oil prices fell in early trade in Asia on Monday after Pakistan, which has been mediating an end to the US-Iran war, announced a deal that President Donald Trump said would see the reopening of the key Strait of Hormuz shipping route. Brent crude, the global oil benchmark, was 4% 83.81 to 62.29 a barrel, while US-traded oil was down 4.7% at 80.89.
Finally, after what have seemed like countless false starts, a deal has been agreed by the US and Iran. Both sides have predictably claimed victory. President Trump has boldly declared, "This great deal will bring peace and security to the whole region."
The announcement of a deal to end hostilities between the US and Iran has provided Donald Trump with a very welcome birthday present, although it's wrapped in a fair measure of uncertainty. In his social media post heralding the agreement, the American president said that the Strait of Hormuz would be open to commercial shipping and the US would lift its naval blockade.
Bilawal urges protesters to call off sit-ins. Party's AJK wing wants elections schedule withdrawn as PMLN insists on elections without delay. 2 deaths reported from Revolako Islamabad. In what appears to be a rethink of the elections in Azad Jammu and Kashmir AJK, the PPP swung into action on Sunday, with its chairman urging the Joint Awaji Action Committee chapter to end its protests and its AJK chapter asking the Election Commission to withdraw the election schedule. US and Iranian officials said they had agreed on a framework to end the war, halt the US blockade of Iran, and reopen the Strait of Hormuz, a preliminary pact that sent oil prices falling but leaves the fate of Iran's nuclear program to further negotiations. The deal with the Islamic Republic of Iran is now complete. US President Donald Trump wrote on his Truth Social platform around 5:30 p.m. ET local time in Washington, 21:03 GMT on Sunday.
As Washington and Tehran explore the contours of a possible new nuclear agreement following recent military strikes and a ceasefire, the emerging framework appears markedly different from the deal negotiated by former President Barack Obama in 2015. Yet experts who helped craft the original agreement argue that diplomacy remains indispensable, regardless of military developments, and caution that any lasting settlement will ultimately depend on verification, inspections and mutual compromise.